is up, YouTube family? It is IK right here. Alright, man. I got a video for y'all today. And for today's video, we're going to be talking about some comic book lore to speak about Marvel character Killmonger, about his evil psychology of who he is as a character. And I'm going to be posing the question, was Killmonger right about his beliefs? And this is probably going to be like it's going to be a very like violent topic because this is kind of like a storyline that a lot of people like to get a little bit worked up over politically. And I'm not really the type to kind of like really talk about that on my channel, which I will talk about that a little bit more, but I'm just gonna keep it like mixed with like all my other videos, because I have one more other video that I'm gonna be talking about in regards to like my other like video, which is like a libertarian video about the welfare state and why that produces a degeneracy within society. But yeah, I'm going to be talking about this video with Killmonger and explain how Killmonger has a very messed up mindset, but I can understand the justification for it, and I'm gonna just be talking about it. That's all. So, who is this character? Who is Killmonger? But before I get to that, be sure to hit the like button, do what you gotta do, and thank you guys for watching this video. Killmonger is the son of N Dejobu. Basically, he is related to T'Challa's father, that is the nephew to T'Challa's father, in which his father is his brother, along with like another character that I forgot in the Marvel series, within the movie, but also in the comic books as well. Basically, like the whole rundown of the whole situation with Killmonger is that T'Challa's brother, that being Killmonger's dad, ended up turning his back against the kingdom of Wakanda. And what ended up happening was that within this situation of Wakanda, T'Challa's father was being betrayed by Killmonger's father, which what ended up happening was that Killmonger's father decided to get the vibranium to sell it to other dealers around the world, where he was basically stealing the vibranium, and he wanted to use it for world conquest domination, for Wakanda to be this, hyper imperialist power, or superpower, if you will, to start killing off all the quote unquote Western nations, to be, this massive like tyrannical authoritarian regime, to go out of its way to empower all the black nations of Africa to be like this one great big African army. And I've always like never really cared about this whole part of what the lore of what the story, but I understand it now, because this is something that was kind of shrugged away within Marvel Comics, where like a lot of like Afro Americans that end up watching this through the movies would think like, oh well, this is actually something that most people wanted back then, and this is like a pro-black comic book, and it's like this is what everything should be, and it's like, no, that's not true. Black Panther was not a comic book that was written by a black person. It was actually written by a white person, and the whole comic book was not even like about having this massive like ethno-status worldview of black people living this monarchical lifestyle of being like super duper like powerful within their own I guess like royal kingdom, if you will, because that's really like what the whole mindset of it is. Because a lot of people just kind of focus on saying like, well, this is what Black Panther is supposed to be, pro-black supreme dominance, and it's like, no, that's not the whole point of it. The whole point of it was actually talking about the kingdom alone, about its importance of vibranium that brought the civilization to a level of success, and that level of success had elevated the people to get to a point of which they didn't need to be reliant off of anybody else. So what they ended up doing is that they ended up succeeding to have a lavish lifestyle of spontaneous order, where if anything, it had some little bits of libertarian elements where people were very well put off. They were very well advanced, and all the tribes worked together, and they had some sort of like decentralized worldview to it. It wasn't just like everybody was just concurrent to the king, and the king just told everybody what to do. No, the king, he had his own people, but the king didn't really have control over everybody. Like, if you compare it to like any like human standard lifestyle of any status level of a monarchy, like a monarchy is far more authoritarian to have a worldview to tell people what to do, because everybody must listen to the king, and if you don't listen, then the king can justify himself to go after you and punish you. But that's clearly not true, because it's like that is a lie of its own. But that's what most people will say out of that, to say, well, no, that's what Black Panther is about, and everybody should have been like that, because that's what the whole kingdom for Wakanda is. But the whole kingdom alone was not focused on that. It was actually set in that place because throughout the storyline, predating to the very first earliest comics of Black Panther was designed as a character to fight against the Shatari, where the Shatari wanted to go to war with the inhabitants of Wakanda, and Wakanda was technically under invasion from the Shatari over the Battle of Vibranium, where the Shatari aliens were trying to kill them, and therefore, if they had it their way, they would take over the Vibranium, and the Vibranium would be used to their own dominance, where you would have the Shatari be the quote-unquote imperialist monsters to take over the world. And that's the whole point of Wakanda being there, because it was like a very secret society type of land per se, where nobody knew where they were, but they had a very great lavish lifestyle because they harvested resources that gave them the ability to be powerful. But it wasn't just to say like it was just a pro-black unity driven society where it's just only black people living. No, that's not the whole point. It was there because they had a special type of resource that kept them alive, but they were also at war with those resources, with the invading forces of other enemies, that being the Shatari, that was supposed to lead up to the very first Avengers War. So, I mean, there's a lot to it, and my lore isn't always, it's not always like 100% to be fully remembered. But me as a kid growing up, like reading the Marvel comics, like the whole comics were like was supposed to be based off of the Black Panther being this great addition to the storyline, to be the next big warrior, representing the black African lineage of the Wakandan people. But this warrior was supposed to be in defense against the Shatari, in which eventually Black Panther would get the help of Captain America to go fight the Shatari, because for those of you that don't know, the Shatari leader, that being Kaiser, if I'm not to be mistaken, he fought T'Challa, and him and T'Challa ended up having a stalemate where Kaiser had told him that he will come back and he will take away his vibranium, and he made that death threat warning to say, be prepared, because I will come back and fight you like again. So Black Panther was supposed to be the character to be, I will defend my people to the very end, and even if it means that I have to die for it, he will do it. So that's something that they don't tell you about that movie. as far as where the Black Panther really originates from. It does come from the ancient spirits of the Wakandan people, but also the power of what the vibranium gives them the ability to develop such technology where the Black Panther warrior is to be created because they have the ancient elements of their ancestors of producing the vibranium and having to have this, like really like mecha technology of having a super soldier, but it's more like a super warrior type of suited character, which it's very interesting because it's like Spider-Man in a way, but the difference is that Spider-Man is actually a mutant, and T'Challa and other people that represent the Black Panther, these are like super high-tech engineers that are very intelligent with tech, and they created a great, addition of particular weapons, that being, their Black Panther suit, to be a powerful, powerful warrior that fights against all threats that are in front of them. So that's what I like out of the idea of the Wakandan people, where they have like a high trust, advanced, society where people help each other out, and they have like a good spontaneous order to look out for one another. And I think that's, that is very interesting because I don't think any other Marvel comic or any comic like that has something similar to that. I mean, granted, you could probably say maybe in Mortal Kombat the Edenians have something like that, or let's just say like the Order realm, where Hotaru's people, he has something that's high advanced to his expenditure, but the Order realm is based off of like, authoritarian rule, but all the resources that they have gathered to create the Order realm is based off of it's based off of like military, like slave labor in a way, but it's like, his people are designed to follow the rule of law, but also be very stand up and very prideful of standing up for your civilization. So I mean, that's something interesting about like, like characters like that, especially from Mortal Kombat, but compared to Marvel with Black Panther, it's kind of similar to that. You have a society that supports their own heritage to stick up with high-tech technology, where that technology is designed to help people empower themselves, so they don't have to be heavily reliant off of other people, but also they're isolated to the point where they don't need help from others, and they're there to help each other out whenever any assistance is to be needed. So I definitely like that. That's the great thing about Black Panther that they don't ever tell you about, because Black Panther gives you that good mindset of like, looking out for your people and also being very prideful to try to stand up for your civilization. But let's talk about Killmonger. I'm sorry that I kind of ate up some time there, but is Killmonger's psychology correct? And I will say his psychology is very interesting, and by no means like I'm no psychologist, but his dark mindset is very evil to the point where he doesn't really have a proper mindset. I don't support what Killmonger believes in, but I will say I can understand why he believed in what he believes in, because it's a sign of being angry and being upset. Back to what I said about Killmonger's dad being brothers with T'Challa's father, that being his uncle. T'Challa's uncle that was with T'Challa's father, that turned against his own brother, that being Killmonger's, dad's brother. What ended up happening is that when T'Challa ended up confronting Killmonger to talk about him stealing the vibranium and selling it to other enemies to kind of empower, well, he was basically stealing it to use it for his own evil bidding, to kind of give it to other African nations and expose it out to the rest of the world. So that's where, oh, I'm sorry. That's where T'Challa got mad and upset at him. But the reason how that came about was through T'Challa's brother that ended up getting killed by Killmonger, in in the Black Panther, human real life movie back in the past with Michael B. Jordan that you see on the screen. That's what made Killmonger upset, because what ended up happening was that T'Challa's father ended up murdering Killmonger's father. So Killmonger had a very messed up mindset when he found out that his dad got killed, but he didn't know what ended up happening until he knew what was at the root cause for it. So basically, what ended up happening was that when Killmonger's father knew who turned his back up against him, it was basically T'Challa's uncle, that being his biological father's brother, to basically turn his back up against Killmonger's father, to tell him that, hey, Killmonger's dad is basically turning his back up against us by stealing the vibranium and using it for his own, evil bidding, because he wants to use it for world power domination politically, by not telling nobody. So he wanted to go out of his way to, be a dictator, be a dictatorship individual, to start hurting innocent people for his own for his own evil bidding. But the whole point of what he wanted to do was to basically deceive up against his own brother, and also deceive the rest of the kingdom of Wakanda, to turn Wakanda into some authoritarian regime, imperialist civilization, to start hurting innocent people, and also dominating the rest of the world for quote unquote African supremacy for colonial means, which it's somehow to represent, I guess, the revenge towards white people of trying to invade Africa and all that, and all the crazy colonial nonsense. But still, I can see that sentiment, but the sentiment alone was just evil in nature. It was just feeling more fuel to the fire to just be denigrating and evil and degenerate. So yeah, my whole take on this was that once Killmonger's father ended up wanting to shoot his own brother in the movie, that being T'Challa's father's brother, because all three of them were brothers, but Killmonger's dad ended up getting he ended up getting stabbed and killed by T'Challa's father, and T'Challa's father, made that hard choice to kill him because he was going to murder his own brother right in front of him. So instead of even trying to hold him down or to prevent that from happening, he just ended up killing him, because he told him that that for what he did, he was going to pay for his crimes, to go to, I guess, some sort of court where he's going to meet some sort of criminal charges. But the truth is that Killmonger's dad didn't want to go through that, so he ended up loading up a gun to try to shoot the person that snitched on him, that being his own brother. So T'Challa's father ended up, saving that guy that Killmonger was trying to kill, that being his other brother, and he ended up stabbing him to the heart. So Killmonger's dad ended up dying there, and from that point on, Killmonger ended up being very sociopathically insane towards the Wakandan kingdom. But on top of that, when he wasn't taken away by T'Challa's dad to bring him to Wakanda to kind of condition him, in the sense of telling him why his father acted the way he acted, he ended up leaving him there, and therefore he has this sociopathic mindset of what happened to my dad and why did he die. So I can see why Killmonger did what he had to do in having to find revenge on who did it. And he knew what the picture was between him, himself and T'Challa, and the rest of the family. So Killmonger wanted to go out of his way to get that revenge. So he ended up enlisting into the U.S. Army after he was growing up. And you see what he ended up doing. He ended up becoming a mass killer to start hurting innocent people. But, I think he was like a mercenary of some sort. But the whole story behind him is like he ended up being like a massive, how should I say? He ended up becoming like a massive threat because his mindset was to go after T'Challa's family and kill them off. But he also wanted to rule Wakanda, but he had to do that by going to a particular means of trying to challenge T'Challa to kill him, and therefore, he could become like the ruler of the throne. But overall, fast forwarding to the movie, Killmonger was able to get what he wanted when he was able to go to Wakanda, and he was able to kind of find the particular vibranium that he wanted to get. And he had all these goals of like wanting to be a mass ruler, a mass dictator, and also like a mass killer to do what he wanted to do. And I think it's very interesting that from his own psychology, he just wanted to kind of like have this ethnocentric revenge to kill off any enemies that are quote unquote the oppressors to black people. And I think what really stuck out with his mindset is just that he's a very disingenuous person that has a very erratic viewpoint to say that I need to have everybody dead in my way, or else I don't feel accomplished to do what I wanted to do. So from that point on, Killmonger was already at that mindset of wanting to take people out and kill them. So it's just that I think but the thing about Killmonger is just that his psychology is developed in the way where he has gone through pain and destruction, but him getting that paid in blood up against the quote unquote people that he wants to go and kill, that being white people and other, well, I'm not too sure about other races, but I guess he wants to just destroy the Western world and get to that level of success. That was like the whole point of his mindset. Have black supremacy, have the Africans rule with having Wakanda be on top, but he destroys most of the world, but Africa is to be empowered. I don't know how he does that with like all the other lands, that being Asia and the Americas. Well, that being like South America and the Caribbean, but I don't think Killmonger should be doing that. I think if he wants to go after his true enemies, you go after like the Western, European nations and all that. But I think that was his whole plan after all. He wants to take out the quote unquote white oppressors that were going after, the Africans and all that. And I can see why he believed in that, because it's like he thinks inside his mind, my goal will be accomplished after all of them die. But at the end of the day, he's just putting more blood into the sand, and nothing's really being achieved. And it's a very messed up utilitarian mindset to think that everything will be okay because the ends will justify the means. But the truth is that there's nothing that is saving, anybody. And I think he understands that he's not being a hero by doing that. And I think Killmonger is purely he's purely unjustified for thinking like that, because he does not have a good reason to killing innocent people. Because even if there was like a white counterpart that thought like him, that individual alone would be just as stupid as Killmonger, and there would be any means to go after him and eliminate him, to kill him as well. So I think Killmonger, he pretty much showed it in this particular movie of the Black Panther film. I forgot what year this took place. I think 2021 at least, or I want to say 2022. But what Killmonger really showed is that you can't have bloodlust over people of a certain color if you don't know who your targets are, and if you don't know who you're really attacking, and you're just going after people over the content of their skin color, then you have no justification to hurt people that haven't done wrong to you, but you end up wanting to do wrong to them. So that doesn't show a true definition character of man, and it makes you look like a weaker individual with more pain being struck to your life because you have a lack of sense of manhood, but you also have like a lack of sense of like empathy to understand your wrongs. So I think Killmonger just pretty much showed within this movie that his evil is basically generated off of torture and pain that he's internally battling. So I think with him having to show that within the movie, and then he ends up getting killed by T'Challa at the very end, pretty much shows that he was just a broken man. And I don't think he really had any good justification to even think like that. But the reason why his evil was there to begin with was simply because of his father, and I guarantee you maybe other people that inspired him, that made him think like that. So yeah, the whole moral of this story is that a man that chooses to be evil has a dark heart because he has a horrible guidance to have a proper mindset to lead himself into the wrong direction. So that is why Killmonger exists in that manner. But the evil behind his actions are clearly defined by him being ignorant and being very, very broken because his accomplishments would have never been very successful. He would have just gotten millions, if not billions, of lives killed with the whole vibranium, conquest thing, with having Wakanda just destroy most of the nations around the world, and then everybody just ends up just dying from collateral damage because it's just like, Killmonger just wants to see everybody suffer. So he understands himself that it's a lose-lose concept because even if it was somebody else of a different skin color, of like a particular race, regardless if it's like a white man or whoever, they're just in the wrong to get themselves into a suicide mission situation to hurt innocent people, and then they end up getting killed at the very end. So it's never going to work because you're going to have many enemies that will fight up against you, and then they're going to end up wanting to take your head off and execute you. So I think Killmonger understood that, but he didn't care because he wanted to see revenge, conquest in his favor to be the psycho idiot that he was. So yeah, that's pretty much what I gotta say about Killmonger. I think this is a pretty good video that I wanted to talk about, but I wanted to kind of give like my whole take on this because I don't think anybody really talks about psychology of certain villains, but Killmonger was a very interesting person to kind of like talk about. So I'll probably make like a whole little title series out of it, analyzing the evil from certain villains, and I'll just put down Killmonger, and then I'll kind of work my way down. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Do you think Killmonger was right about what he did? Do you think he was wrong? I think he's ultimately wrong because he's not a good person, and he's not really intelligent with what he believed in. But yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys later. Peace, and I will get back with more videos coming to the channel. Alright, I'll see you guys. Bye.